Picture this. A dimly lit bedroom. You've got a terrified young woman, and she is thrown onto a bed by a towering, muscular man.
Right, which sounds like your standard run-of-the-mill thriller setup.
Exactly. You brace yourself for that typical trope, but then flame-like vines suddenly erupt from the walls and they actually fuse with her flesh.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, she begins to levitate. And a glowing dragon tattoo just burns itself right into her chest.
That is quite the escalation.
Right. It's gripping, it's wild, and, well, here is the craziest part. Absolutely none of it was imagined by a human being.
Wait, really? None of it?
None of it. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, our mission is exploring this fascinating piece from Technology Review about how Chinese short dramas have rapidly become the new frontier for AI-driven creativity.
Yeah, and this isn't just some quirky tech novelty that you swipe through on your phone when you're bored.
No, not at all. This is a fundamental rewiring of how entertainment is actually made.
It really is. I mean, it is the machinery of storytelling being dismantled and rebuilt in real time. For anyone who is trying to understand the future of media, this specific phenomenon is, well, it's the ultimate canary in the coal mine.
Okay, let's unpack this right away, because when I first read about these AI-generated short dramas, my immediate thought was that the AI is simply hallucinating.
Oh, sure. Like it's just making things up as it goes.
Exactly. It feels like someone fed a machine this massive list of fantasy keywords, and it panicked and just mashed them all together into a weird, disjointed fever dream.
Well, that is definitely the most common assumption with generative video right now, but the reality is it's actually far more calculated.
Calculated how?
So the Technology Review piece highlights that these algorithms are engaged in high-level predictive modeling.
Hmm.
Every single element in that sequence, the tension, the specific imagery of the flame vines, the sudden genre shift to the supernatural, is deliberately engineered.
To tap into what we want to see.
Precisely. To tap into precise audience preferences. It is not throwing random visual spaghetti at the wall. It is executing a highly deliberate construction of narrative building blocks.
Wait, hold on. Let's look under the hood there. Because, I mean, if there's no human writer having a eureka moment, isn't this essentially like writing a novel via a massive real-time focus group?
What's fascinating here is that it's exactly what it is. It's a focus group, but at a scale that humans can't even really comprehend.
Right, because the traditional focus group still needs a human to look at the data, right? To say, okay, the audience is getting bored, let's add a plot twist.
Exactly.
So if a million people are suddenly swiping away from a dialogue scene, how does a server farm know to replace it with a glowing dragon tattoo specifically? Where is that actual leap happening?
It happens through this process of tokenized prompt assembly and interaction mapping. The AI isn't just looking at the exact moment you skip.
Okay.
It is analyzing what you were watching in the milliseconds before you skipped and cross-referencing that with vast databases of successful tropes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and in the Chinese market specifically, there is an established massive ecosystem of web novels and online literature.
Oh, right. I've heard of that.
Yeah, so the AI has ingested millions of these stories. It knows historically that in the let's say the urban fantasy romance demographic, a sudden physical transformation causes a massive spike in engagement.
Like a magical tattoo appearing.
Exactly, a highly quantifiable spike. So when the algorithm detects a drop-off in watch time during a standard domestic dispute scene, its predictive model just automatically injects a high probability engagement trope to retain your attention.
So it isn't a writer having a flash of inspiration. It is literally a probability matrix calculating that a supernatural tattoo has an 87% chance of stopping you from scrolling.
That is exactly what it's doing.
Which brings us to the sheer scale of this operation.
Right.
We are basically talking about writing a script via this massive focus group, but with the human interpreter just completely, entirely removed from the equation.
Removed entirely. It's a focus group of potentially millions of viewers operating with virtually zero algorithmic latency.
Zero latency.
Right, because traditional media operates on a highly delayed feedback loop. A studio makes a movie, puts it in theaters, waits weeks for box office numbers, and maybe greenlights a sequel 2 years later based on that data.
Yeah, if they're lucky.
Exactly. But these AI systems operate instantaneously. Every single second you watch, every time you pause, skip, or rewatch a specific moment.
That's a data point.
Yes, that is a granular data point fed directly back into the generation engine.
Okay, I really want to walk through the actual life cycle of one of these AI-generated short dramas step by step as it's outlined in the research. How does it go from nothing to a finished product on a user's phone?
Sure. So the life cycle basically begins with data scraping.
Yeah.
The system monitors trending topics across social media platforms, so hashtags, search queries, viral videos, all of that.
Getting a pulse on what people care about right now.
Right. Let's say it detects a sudden surge in interest around time travel and corporate revenge. A large language model takes those conceptual inputs and instantly drafts perhaps 100 different microscripts.
Just blasting out variations of the same core idea to see what works.
Exactly, just throwing 100 ideas into the pipeline. Next, the text-to-video diffusion model takes those 100 scripts and generates the visual and audio assets for the first few episodes of each variation.
Wait, it renders all of them?
All of them. And this entire process, from identifying the trend to fully rendered video, takes a matter of hours, if not minutes.
That is insane!
It is. And then comes the critical phase, which is algorithmic deployment. The platform pushes these 100 variations out to small, tightly controlled cohorts of users.
Oh, so it's A/B testing at scale.
Exactly. It's real-time AD testing. The system monitors real-world metrics like drop-off rates down to the millisecond, scroll speeds, and even comment sentiment using natural language processing.
So, if viewers are leaving comments rooting for the villain in variation number 42, the AI reads those comments and, instantly rewrites the next episode to give the villain a redemption arc.
Yes, instantly. It's a massive, real-time survival of the fittest tournament for these shows. If variation A has an average watch time of 8 seconds, but variation B has an average watch time of 15 seconds, the system instantly terminates production on variation A.
It just kills it.
Kills it dead.
Oh.
All computational resources are diverted to the winner. The language model starts writing the next sequence for variation B. The multimodal AI renders the video and voice audio, and it is pushed to your feed before you even realize you want more.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. It makes me think about how we've traditionally consumed media. It's always been like visiting an artisanal bakery, you know?
An artisanal bakery. Okay, I like
Yeah,
that.
you wait in line, you look at what the master chef decided to bake that morning, and you either buy it or you don't. It is a slow, human-driven process where the creator holds all the power.
Right. They dictate what is available.
Exactly. But this AI model, it's not a bakery at all. It is a hyper-efficient storytelling vending machine. And worse, or I guess better depending on how you look at it, it's a vending machine that scans your brain, knows exactly what flavor you crave before you even push the button.
And then instantly manufactures it right in front of you.
Yes.
That represents a total shift from a model of supply-driven art to demand-driven content generation. And this brings us to why the specific context of the Technology Review article is so critical.
Right.
Because there is a reason this explosion is happening with Chinese short dramas first, rather than, say, Hollywood blockbusters. It is a perfect storm of format and data volume.
Right, because for those who might not be familiar with the specific format, Chinese short dramas are incredibly specific. They are vertical videos shot in a portrait aspect ratio specifically for mobile viewing.
Which is key.
Yeah, and they are fast, usually only 1 to 2 minutes long per episode.
And that vertical aspect ratio actually makes AI generation significantly easier. It limits the visual field, meaning the algorithm has to render far fewer background details.
Oh, that makes sense. Less pixels to worry about.
Exactly. It can focus its computational power entirely on faces and immediate actions. When you combine that forgiving format with platforms that have hundreds of millions of daily active users consuming these microdramas, the volume of interaction data is unprecedented.
It's the perfect testing ground.
It really is. The algorithm has a perfect data-rich environment to learn in.
But if it's operating that fast, how is it actually building the video? Because, I mean, even a year ago, AI-generated video was a blurry, morphing nightmare. Characters would randomly grow extra fingers or melt into the background.
It was completely unusable for a narrative show.
Right. So what changed under the hood to allow these systems to produce coherent, multi-episode dramas at this breakneck speed?
So the massive technological leap is in temporal consistency within diffusion models. Early AI video struggled because it was essentially generating a series of standalone images and attempting to stitch them together blindly.
Like a flip book made by someone who forgot what the previous page looked like?
Exactly. But the new models powering these short dramas use advanced temporal layers that mathematically understand object permanence.
Object permanence.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, if a character puts a coffee cup on a table in frame 1, the AI calculates and remembers the geometry and placement of that cup through to frame 500.
So it doesn't randomly turn into a potted plant halfway through the scene?
Correct. It stays a coffee cup.
Yeah.
And this allows the algorithm to generate visually stable, continuous narratives rapidly, without a human editor having to go in and fix glaring continuity errors frame by frame.
Which saves a massive amount of time.
Exactly. This leap in temporal consistency is what brought the rendering cost down to near zero and enabled the A/B testing at scale we discussed earlier. The bottleneck of human production time has been completely removed.
Okay, but if this vending machine model is so ruthlessly efficient at giving us exactly what we want, it really makes me wonder what happens to the art of the slow burn.
The slow burn. Yeah.
Because traditional storytelling relies heavily on pacing and delayed gratification. A human writer will intentionally make you uncomfortable or, withhold answers for 3 seasons to set up a massive emotional payoff later.
Right.
Do we lose traditional storytelling entirely because it just can't compete with an algorithm that is terrified of boring you for even a second?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is the fundamental challenge this technology presents to the boundaries of storytelling.
Yeah.
The algorithm views a drop in engagement as a failure, so it constantly spikes the dopamine.
It's just constant action.
Right. It optimizes for a very specific metric, which is keeping your eyes on the screen for the next 10 seconds. It does not understand the value of narrative friction.
Because friction makes people click away.
Exactly. A human creator pushes back against the audience's expectations to challenge them. The AI simply acts as a mirror, reflecting the audience's baseline desires back at them in an endless loop.
Hence the sudden levitation and dragon tattoos. It's just pure narrative adrenaline. But this raises a massive question about ownership and vision. If the algorithm is just a mirror, who is the actual author of the story?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. Is it the engineer who coded the AI model? Is it the AI itself? Or is it us, the viewers, passively authoring the story through our clicks and our watch times and our scroll speeds?
Legally and philosophically, it is an entirely gray area right now. But practically speaking, the audience's aggregated behavioral data becomes the vision.
Wow.
The boundary between the creator and the consumer is blurring completely. You are no longer just an audience member. Your data is the raw material driving the next script.
Which brings us back to you, the listener, because the article makes it very clear that these shiny short dramas are just the starting point.
They are just the proof of concept.
Exactly. They're demonstrating the viability of this demand-driven content ecosystem. But this isn't going to stay confined to 2-minute vertical videos on your phone.
No, the underlying infrastructure, the predictive modeling, the real-time A/B testing, the multimodal generation, it is entirely scalable. As computation costs decrease further, there's no technical barrier preventing this exact process from being applied to a 2-hour feature film.
Or a video game.
Or an interactive video game, or a personalized novel. Imagine opening a streaming service, and the film's pacing, its subplots, and even the actors' appearances are dynamically generated in real time based entirely on your historical viewing profile.
It's the ultimate bespoke entertainment. But, it's also incredibly isolating.
How so?
Well, part of the joy of media is the shared cultural experience. We all watch the same finale of a massive TV show, and we could debate it the next day at the water cooler.
Right, the shared water cooler moments.
Exactly. If my version of a movie is dynamically generated to feature heavy sci-fi elements because the algorithm knows my profile, and your version leans into a romantic comedy subplot, we aren't even watching the same piece of media anymore. We've moved from mass media to micromedia.
And that fragmentation of culture is a direct consequence of hyper-personalization at scale. The efficiency of the ecosystem is undeniable, but it optimizes for individual engagement at the absolute expense of collective experience.
Yeah.
It forces us to reconsider what we actually value in our entertainment. Do we want a shared human vision or a perfectly customized digital product?
It is both thrilling and slightly dizzying to think about how fast this is approaching. Let's briefly recap the journey we've been on today.
Sure.
We started with that wild, vivid, AI-generated thriller scene, which really served as our entry point into a massive technological shift. From there, we looked under the hood at the mechanics, exploring how tokenized prompts and real-world data metrics drive predictive modeling. We walked through the breakneck pipeline of generating hundreds of microscripts, rendering them with temporally consistent video models, and A/B testing them in real time to find the absolute stickiest narrative threads.
And we examine how this combination of speed, granular viewer data, and near-zero rendering costs is resulting in a new era of hyper-personalized entertainment, challenging everything we thought we knew about the boundaries between creator and consumer.
It truly is a brave new world of algorithmic storytelling. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final lingering thought to mull over on your own. We've spent this deep dive looking at how these AI content machines are perfectly engineered to analyze our data and give us exactly the thrills we crave, the absolute second we want them.
Yeah.
But if the future of entertainment becomes nothing more than a perfectly calculated mirror of our own preferences, well, will we eventually lose out on the unexpected, challenging, and sometimes deeply uncomfortable flaws that make human-authored stories so unforgettable?
It's a big question.
It is something to think about the next time you find yourself entirely absorbed by a video on your feed. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Stay curious, keep questioning the rapidly changing world around you, and we will catch you next time.